The photo arrived at exactly 10:47 p.m. I remember the time because I stared at my phone for nearly 10 minutes before I opened it. At first, I thought it was spam. The number wasn't saved in my contacts, and the message contained only 3 words. Thought you should know. Below, it was a photo. A single photo that would change everything. My name is Rachel, and until that night, I believed I had a happy marriage. My husband, Ethan, and I had been together for 11 years. We had built a comfortable life together. Nothing extravagant, but enough to make me feel secure. We shared a home, dreams, routines, and what I thought was complete trust. Ethan worked long hours as a project manager. Late nights had become normal for him. Sometimes he wouldn't get home until midnight. I never questioned it. Whenever I asked if he was working too hard, he'd smile and kiss my forehead. Just trying to give us a better future, he'd say. And I believed him. Maybe because I wanted to. Maybe because trusting him felt easier than imagining anything else. That particular evening seemed no different. Ethan called around 7 p.m. Running late again, he said. Big client meeting. No problem, I replied. I'll leave dinner in the fridge. His voice sounded normal, comforting, familiar. Nothing about that conversation warned me that my entire world was about to shift. A few hours later, while watching television alone, my phone buzzed. That message, that photo. With trembling hands, I opened it. The image showed Ethan. There was no mistake. No confusión. It was him. He was sitting at a restaurant across town. But he wasn't alone. A woman sat beside him. Not across from him. Beside him. Their heads leaned close together. His hand rested gently over hers. And the way he looked at her, I had seen that look before. Years ago, when he used to look at me, my heart dropped instantly. I wanted to believe there was an explanation. A business dinner. A misunderstanding. Anything. But deep inside, something broke. Because the photo didn't just show where Ethan was. It showed where he wasn't. He wasn't working late. He wasn't in a client meeting. He wasn't telling me the truth. I stared at the image over and over again. Then I noticed another message. If I were you, I'd ask him about Jessica. Jessica. I had never heard that name before. But what I didn't know that night was that Jessica wasn't just another woman. She was the beginning of a truth Ethan had been hiding for nearly 2 years. And soon, every secret would come crashing into the light. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying every moment of our marriage. Every late meeting. Every canceled dinner. Every unexpected business trip. Suddenly, things that once seemed normal started feeling suspicious. The next morning, Ethan acted exactly as he always did. He kissed me goodbye, asked if I needed anything from the store, smiled like nothing had happened. Watching him lie so effortlessly hurt more than I expected. I wanted to confront him immediately, but something stopped me. Instead, I decided to wait, to learn the truth first. Over the next few weeks, I quietly paid attention. I noticed patterns. Tuesday nights, Thursday evenings, certain phone calls he always took outside, certain messages that made him smile. The more I observed, the clearer everything became. Then one afternoon, fate handed me something I wasn't looking for. Ethan had left his laptop open. I wasn't searching through his things. I simply walked past and saw an email notification. The subject line caught my attention. Can't wait to see you tonight, Red Heart. My stomach tightened. I clicked it. And there she was. Jessica, the woman from the photo.
What I found shattered me.
Hundreds of messages. Photos. Plans. Promises. Conversations stretching back almost 2 years. 2 years. While I was celebrating anniversaries and planning vacations, Ethan had been building another relationship. A whole second life. I felt sick. Not because another woman existed, but because of how easily he had lied. Day after day. Month after month. Year after year. For several days, I cried whenever I was alone. I cried in my car, at work, in the shower. I felt foolish, embarrassed, broken. How could I have missed it? How could someone I trusted so completely betray me so deeply? But eventually something changed. The sadness slowly transformed into clarity. Then clarity became strength. I realized I had spent too much time focusing on what Ethan had done. Now it was time to focus on myself. Quietly, I began preparing. I met with a lawyer, gathered financial records, documented everything, every hidden expense, every suspicious transfer, every piece of evidence. Meanwhile, Ethan remained completely unaware. He thought I was still the trusting wife waiting at home. He thought his secrets were safe. Then one evening, he sat across from me and said words I will never forget. "I don't think I'm happy anymore." I stared at him, not because the words hurt, but because of how rehearsed they sounded, as if he had practiced them, as if he wanted to paint himself as the victim. "I think we need some space," he continued. For a moment, I saw exactly who he was. Not the man I married, the man he had become. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid. I simply nodded. "Okay," I said calmly. The surprise on his face was almost immediate. He expected tears, arguments, begging. Instead, he got silence, because what he didn't know was that I was already 3 steps ahead. And soon, the truth he had spent years hiding would become impossible to escape. 3 months later, Ethan officially moved out. By then, he seemed happier than ever. He believed he had escaped consequences. He had Jessica. He had freedom. And he assumed I would quietly accept everything. What he didn't realize was that the truth has a way of revealing itself, especially when it's built on deception. As the legal process moved forward, financial documents began surfacing. Documents Ethan assumed nobody would ever find. Accounts he never disclosed. Money he had secretly spent supporting his second life. Luxury trips. Gifts. Hidden expenses. The evidence painted a picture he couldn't explain away. Suddenly, the confident man who thought he controlled the story found himself answering difficult questions. His carefully crafted image began falling apart. Friends learned the truth. Family learned the truth. Even some of his coworkers learned the truth. The lies became impossible to maintain. Then something unexpected happened. Jessica left him. Apparently, the same dishonesty he had shown me eventually reached her too. The relationship he had sacrificed everything for didn't survive. And just like that, the future he imagined disappeared. One afternoon, months later, Ethan called. His voice sounded different, smaller somehow. "I made a mistake," he said quietly. I remained silent. I never realized what I was losing. Those words would have meant everything to me once, but not anymore, because by then, I had already rebuilt my life. I had found confidence I never knew I possessed. I had learned to trust myself again. Most importantly, I had discovered that my happiness was never dependent on someone else's loyalty. When I ended the call, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel victory. I felt peace. Real peace. The kind that comes when you finally stop carrying someone else's mistakes. Sometimes people ask whether I regret opening that photo. The answer is always no. Because painful truth is still better than comfortable lies. That photo broke my heart, but it also opened my eyes. It forced me to see reality instead of the story I wanted to believe. And in the end, that became my greatest gift. Ethan thought he was working late. Thought he could hide the truth forever. The photo changed everything. And if there's one lesson I learned from it all, it's this. When someone betrays your trust, they don't destroy your future. They simply reveal who deserves a place in it. Sometimes the most painful endings become the beginning of the life you were truly meant to have.